Disclaimer: all testimonies shared on this channel are authentic, told by real people who have experienced them. They are shared to inspire faith, encourage repentance, and point souls back to God. Each story is personal and true to the individual who lived it. Do your research if you find it.
I thought I was serving God, but when I died, I found myself in hell. I never thought my life would end the way it did. I had spent decades preaching Islam, convinced that I was guiding people toward the truth. I led prayers, counseled families, quoted the Quran fluently, and earned the respect of my community. People called me Imam, and I wore that title with pride. But pride, that was the first chain that dragged me down. The day I died, I thought angels would welcome me, that light would open before me. Instead, darkness swallowed me. I was pulled into a place so terrifying that no words can fully capture it. The smell alone, burning flesh mixed with sulfur, was enough to make me wish for death again. But in hell, there is no death, only eternal existence in pain. I saw people screaming, clawing, begging for mercy that never came. I heard voices I recognized, men and women who had prayed beside me in mosques, now crying out in horror. And then I realized I was one of them. I am telling you this because you must hear it before it's too late. My name is Khalid, and this is the testimony of how I preached Islam all my life, but hell claimed me when I died. Before I go deeper into my story, I want to pause and say a heartfelt thank you to this community. The fact that you take time out of your life to listen, to reflect, and to share these testimonies means more than words can capture. Every view, every like, every share is not just about numbers. It's about souls being reached with warnings and hope. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been following faithfully, thank you for standing with us as we bring hidden truths into the light. These stories are not just for entertainment. They are urgent messages for every heart. Please do me a favor right now. Drop a comment below and let us know where you're watching from. Whether you're in Africa, Asia, America, or anywhere in the world, you are part of this family. Together, we're spreading light into darkness. Islam was my world. I was born into a devout Muslim family in northern Nigeria in 1962. My father was a strict man, respected in the community, and my mother raised me to follow the rules without question. By the age of 10, I had memorized long portions of the Quran. By 15, I was already leading prayers for younger boys at the madrasa. People would pat me on the back and say, "This one is destined to be an Imam." And I believed it. I grew up with a sense of pride and destiny. Religion was not just a duty, it was my identity. Every word I spoke, every robe I wore, was shaped around being seen as righteous. But deep down, I knew something was missing. I buried those feelings beneath achievements. I became a respected Imam, preaching 5 times a day, counseling families, officiating marriages, and teaching the Quran to hundreds. People would bow slightly when they greeted me. They kissed my hands. They treated me as though I had a special place with God. I loved it. I loved the attention, the honor, the respect. Pride wrapped itself around my heart, but I didn't see it that way then. I thought I was serving God. Still, at night when I was alone, doubts crept in. Sometimes I would wonder, what if all this is not enough? What if on the other side, I find out I was wrong? But then I would quickly silence those thoughts. I told myself hell was real, but not for me. It was for murderers, thieves, adulterers, those who rejected God outright. I was a preacher. I wore the right clothes. I followed the prayers. Surely I was safe. But sin has a way of hiding in religious garments. My anger was quick. My pride was heavy. I looked down on Christians, mocking them as lost and blind. I scorned people who didn't live as strictly as I did. Outwardly, I was holy. Inwardly, I was empty. I didn't drink alcohol or commit the sins others did, but I fed my soul with arrogance. I remember one incident clearly. A Christian neighbor came to me after his wife fell sick. He asked if I could pray for her. I laughed in his face and told him to seek help from his Jesus. Later that night, I heard her cries through the thin walls as she struggled to breathe. A voice whispered inside me, "You are merciless." I brushed it off and said to myself, "She is not my problem. God has already rejected them." But that night I couldn't sleep. Her cries haunted me. Still, I pressed forward, rising higher in religious status. By the late 1990s, I was invited to conferences, standing before crowds, passionately defending Islam. People clapped, shouted, and praised me. Yet, when I went home, an emptiness gnawed inside me. It was as though a deep hunger lived in my chest, one no amount of applause could satisfy. I never told anyone about those feelings. To admit emptiness would be to admit weakness, and weakness was not allowed for a leader. So I hid it. I smiled, preached, corrected others, and convinced myself that God was pleased with me. But somewhere in the shadows of my heart, I feared the unknown. Looking back now, I realize I had religion without salvation. I was a man respected on earth, but not recognized in heaven. And the day came when I found out the truth in the most terrifying way possible. It was a humid evening in July 2003 when my life suddenly changed. I was returning home after leading the last prayer of the day. My body had been feeling weak for weeks, but I brushed it aside as exhaustion. That night, as I sat down to eat with my family, a sharp pain tore through my chest. It felt as though an invisible hand had gripped my heart and refused to let go. I collapsed to the floor, gasping for air. My wife screamed my name. My children scrambled around me, but their voices began to fade. Darkness clouded my vision, and I felt my soul slipping away. The last sound I heard on earth was the desperate cry of my youngest daughter. "Baba, Baba, don't leave us." Then silence. I opened my eyes expecting light, but instead I was standing in a suffocating darkness, thicker than anything I had ever known. The air was heavy, choking, filled with the stench of burning sulfur. At first I thought I was dreaming, but the pain in my chest was gone. I reached for my body. It was gone. I was not breathing. I was not alive. Suddenly a sound tore through the silence, screams, endless piercing screams that rose and fell like crashing waves. I turned toward the noise, and my eyes widened in horror. Flames rose in the distance, twisting like serpents, swallowing figures that writhed and wailed. The smell was unbearable, burning flesh mixed with decay. It clung to me, entered my nostrils, and made me gag though I had no lungs. "Where am I?" I whispered. A voice thundered from behind me, mocking and cruel. "You know where you are." I turned and saw shadows moving, darker than the darkness itself. They laughed, their voices shrill, echoing in my skull. Fear seized me. My knees buckled, and I fell into the dust that burned like fire. Then I saw them, faces in the flames. Men I had once prayed beside. Women who had once greeted me in the mosque. Their eyes met mine, and they screamed louder, stretching out charred hands as though begging me to rescue them. "Imam Khalid, save us! Help us!" But I could do nothing. I was one of them now. Terror filled me. I shouted, "This cannot be. I served God. I prayed. I fasted. I led others in worship." The laughter of demons rose higher. "You had religion but not salvation. You honored yourself but not the one true God." The ground split beneath me, and I was dragged toward the pit of fire. The heat scorched me, yet my flesh did not burn away. Pain seared every part of me, sharper than knives, deeper than flames. I tried to close my eyes, but even that escape was denied. Every second was torment. I saw a river of molten fire where souls floated like corpses, crying out as worms crawled over them. I heard chains rattling, saw demons tearing at people's flesh while laughing with joy. The hopelessness was worse than the pain. There was no exit, no door, no end, just eternity. In that moment, I realized the greatest horror of all. I had spent my life convinced that I knew God, but I had rejected His Son, and now I was paying the price. I cried out in despair, "Allah, save me!" But the heavens were silent. It was then, when I thought all hope was gone, that something unexpected happened. Just when I thought my soul would be swallowed forever, the ground beneath me shook violently. The laughter of the demons stopped. For a split second there was silence. Then, out of the suffocating darkness, a light appeared, small at first, like a single star in a vast night. But it grew brighter and brighter until it pierced through the flames. The demons shrieked and pulled back, hissing like snakes scorched by fire. The light descended toward me, and in it I saw a figure clothed in radiant white. His face shone brighter than the sun, and yet I could look at him without being blinded. The closer he came, the weaker the torment felt. For the first time since I entered that place, I felt peace wash over me. I fell on my face and cried out, "Who are you? Please save me." Then I heard a voice, deep yet tender, strong yet filled with love. "I am Jesus, the one you rejected. I am the way, the truth, and the life. You are not yet appointed to perish. Go back and warn them." The words cut into me like a sword. My heart trembled. I wanted to speak, but I could only sob. I thought of all the years I had spent mocking His name, denying His cross, persecuting His followers. And yet, in the very place where I deserved to be abandoned, He showed me mercy. I tried to lift my eyes to look at Him again, but the brilliance of His presence overwhelmed me. Still, I felt His hand reach toward me. Not a physical hand, but something deeper, a touch that penetrated my soul. Instantly, the chains that held me in terror snapped apart, the flames retreated, the screams faded, and the darkness loosened its grip. "Your time has not yet come," He said again. "I am sending you back. But remember this. Without me, there is no salvation. Go and tell them what you have seen." The command echoed through me, and before I could respond, I felt myself being lifted. The fire, the demons, the pit, all of it vanished as though pulled away in an instant. A rushing wind surrounded me, and I felt as though I were being carried upward at great speed. My soul trembled, torn between relief and fear. Then, suddenly, I gasped. My chest rose. My eyes flew open. I was back in my room, lying on the floor where my body had collapsed. My wife and children were gathered around me, weeping, calling my name. When they saw me move, they screamed in shock, "He's alive! He's alive!" But I was not the same man anymore. I had crossed the line between life and eternity. I had seen hell. I had met Jesus. And I had been given a second chance. When I returned from that experience, I was no longer the Imam my community knew. The man who once stood proudly in flowing robes, quoting the Quran with confidence, was gone. In his place was a broken soul, trembling under the weight of what I had seen. For days, I could not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the screams from hell. The smell of sulfur clung to my memory. I would wake up drenched in sweat, crying like a child. My wife thought I was losing my mind, but I knew the truth. I had been spared for a reason. The first thing I did was renounce my position as Imam. That decision shook the entire community. Some thought I had been bewitched. Others said I had betrayed my faith. Family members disowned me. Friends turned their backs. I was mocked, rejected, and threatened. But none of it mattered. I had seen eternity. I could not stay silent. For the first time in my life, I opened a Bible. The words of Jesus leapt from the pages with life and power. I wept as I read, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me." It was the same voice I had heard in hell. From that moment, everything changed. I no longer lived for respect or titles. I began to live for truth. My prayers were no longer empty rituals. They became conversations with a living God. My pride was crushed. My heart softened toward those I once despised. And every day since I have carried one mission: to warn others before it is too late. My friend, I beg you to believe me when I say this. Hell is real. I stood there. I smelled the sulfur. I heard the endless screams. And I felt the torment of being cut off from God. Religion could not save me. My prayers, my fasting, my pride, none of it mattered in that place. Listen carefully. I had religion, but I didn't have salvation. Don't make the same mistake. Turn to Jesus now. He alone is the way. Don't gamble with eternity. One breath, one heartbeat, and it could be too late. Thank you for staying with me through this journey. I know my testimony was heavy, but it is the truth I was commanded to share. Please don't just watch and move on. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Eternity is real, and the choices we make now will echo forever. I'd love to hear from you. Please share your thoughts in the comments below and tell us where you're watching from. Let's keep spreading these warnings together. Until next time, may the Lord keep you safe. Stay watchful, stay ready, and stay close to Jesus.